Bitcoin pumped back up above $117,000. There we are right now battling resistance, which is absolutely phenomenal. This market has been lagging behind pretty much everything for quite some time now. But if we do take a look at the S&P 500, which of course is going to be the real driving factor behind any Bitcoin success we see these days, it is sitting at a brand new all-time high on this Wednesday trading session. So this is absolutely great news, and obviously with Bitcoin being so much lower in comparison over the recent weeks, it's nice to see Bitcoin just printing these kind of lightsaber candles. These are the kind of candles that don't necessarily inherently make much sense, but it also doesn't matter because the market is just kind of coming back up toward what I believe to be more of an equilibrium, which is fantastic. We've already hit this level as resistance a few weeks ago, and we're now back up again for the 1st of October here. So happy October, happy Q4, ladies and gents. And if we are able to punch through this resistance level now, then our next key level is going to be up here at about $120,000. So this is a really exciting time. It's the fact that we got a rejection off this level. The rejection turned into a pretty steep rejection. It took us down to 109. I would say it's not actually particularly steep at all, but given the state of affairs in this market, given the fact that the S&P was doing well, given the fact that, crypto as a whole is so fucking depressed right now, this was a fairly steep correction. And, one of the best things you can get after a steep correction is proof from the bulls that they are still alive and that they are still working. And this is really good. We moved up a lot faster with a lot more strength this time than we did last time. And I think that's really going to be leading us to a much higher chance of breaking above this resistance level and then potentially even ideally backtesting it to get a little bit of support. And that kind of backtest is going to be a really interesting trade setup because that's where you now have, essentially a very well-proven, support level, also a very well-proven resistance level, flipping into support again. So these typically tend to be some of the highest conviction kind of setups that we get in the market, which is really, really cool. We're going to look at Bitcoin dominance, a couple other things in a minute as well, because those are really exciting. But as far as a trade setup here, I really like the look of this, probably like entry somewhere around like the low, 117s, mid to high 116s, really, really good, kind of zone to be looking for entries in my opinion. And then, I'd probably just be targeting the highs here. It's nothing crazy. It's going to be like 3%, 4%, depending on how high you want to take this. If you're even aiming for all-time highs, then obviously these trades turn into much more exciting setups. But the bottom line is that there is something here, which is really, really cool. And there are going to be tons more, I think, now that we're starting to get some more kind of breakout activity. So well worth keeping in mind as we are coming into this video here, ladies and gents, that this is a great opportunity for you to get signed up to the brilliant exchanges that we've got linked in the description down below. Bybit remains the best in the game, and they're giving you up to $30,000 for free to trade with when you start trading using Bybit. LevX provides very aggressive bonuses, more aggressive than Bybit, but they're still giving you the kind of same experience that you expect these days in crypto, which is really cool. 𝗙𝐿𝐵𝗟𝗏, also a great option for OTC buying and selling worldwide, especially if you're in the West. So check those out if you are interested. But right here, back to the chart, it's a good place that we're in, ladies and gents, to be able to come back up to this resistance level and, potentially be ready to break it here. If we do end up getting rejected, then again, we've got support in the same levels that we already knew about. So we were expecting support at 112. We got it. That's probably going to be support once again if the market does end up falling back down. And then obviously 110, this kind of rough range, could be an interesting level for Bitcoin as well, 109K, whatever. Failing the 110K level, we are probably going to be looking at, significantly lower support zones. But, we're really not looking at those levels right now. I don't think that they're particularly relevant. I think the big thing here is going to be that Bitcoin has, essentially been muted since it really broke above its all-time high in July of this year. And I don't think that that's going to last forever. I think that there's a pretty real chance that Bitcoin is going to be able to, just get back on track with setting those all-time highs. And I think that every time we have these kind of pauses in the market, we do tend to see much more explosive price action following afterwards. So, when we got this breakout here, essentially we were kind of doing nothing for about 2 months straight. But then, from the low to the high, the all-time high that we set, that was a 26% move. And, if we're looking at something similar again, up by 26%, that does give us a, pretty reasonable kind of speculative target up here of about, kind of 134K. So, we've had for months now, we've had tons of, different tools pointing to the same kind of price range somewhere in the mid 130s as a next speculative target. I think that it's super realistic. And I think it's realistic because it's slow, right? I mean, this is one of those bull markets where, you can pull out so many bearish arguments about what's going on in this market. and they will sound real if, you know, you're scared enough in this market. But, you know, the fact of the matter is we have come from a low of 15K, you know, effectively to, you know, like we're approaching 10x territory, you know, if we get into those, you know, kind of mid 130s. And that is an incredible bull run. It's an incredible, but I don't think that means we're anywhere near done either. You know, I'm looking at things like the S&P 500, and one of the things I've said to you very, very clearly on this channel is, you know, we got this back test of the previous all-time high from 2021, 2022, under Biden, this was. Trump created this little crash with the tariff drama, and then he reversed it as well. And it just created the most perfect market reset. And one of the things that's really important for you and I to keep in mind is that these kind of market resets typically happen at the beginning of a bull market, not toward the end, not even in the middle. They typically happen in the beginning. Now, could this be an exception where it's not actually the beginning and actually we're late stage and we just happen to fucking backtest the previous all-time high from 3 years ago? Could that be possible? Yeah, could be possible, but I don't know. I don't think it's super likely, and, you know, you be the judge of that for your own self as well. As for, you know, altcoins, which I think is really, really interesting here, Bitcoin dominance has taken a pretty steep rise up in comparison to where it's been. It's still very low, and to be honest, this bounce up, which is 3.6% in relative terms, is pretty much lining up with the previous kind of massive rise up we saw for Bitcoin dominance. It's not even massive, but during this downtrend here. So, you know, if it goes further than this, then we're probably in pretty good territory for Bitcoin to really regain some ground, and that totally makes sense if Bitcoin pumps above 120K. But we have seen that the brakes are coming off on altcoins right now, and I do feel very optimistic about them. You know, if we look at some of my altcoins that I've personally been interested in, here's Solana. And I told you when Solana was up here that this would be a really nice buy level. We didn't get it, but we came really close. And there is a pretty reasonable chance that if Bitcoin does explode from here, Bitcoin's going to drag its dominance up with it, at least for a little bit, and that will bring some of these altcoins into more palatable price ranges for long-term spot buys, which I think is really, really interesting. Obviously, you want to be getting Solana ideally even below the 0.17 level, but, you know, I don't know if that's going to come. And this is a pretty decent level too, right? I mean, if you're as bullish on Solana as I am, then you probably think that it's coming up to at least 0.26 up here. And so, you know, almost whether you buy up here, you know, buy down here for a 60% gain or buy where we are now for a 45% gain. Look, it's, you know, it's an extra 15% gain. It's not, you know, it's not nothing. Everything adds up, but there is still a lot of upside here, even at these levels, in my opinion, just for where I think these coins can be going. And I think the fact that we're seeing, you know, Bitcoin dominance, despite, you know, the kind of relative weakness we have seen in altcoins over the last 1 or 2 weeks, you know, the fact that we're seeing Bitcoin dominance do this, you know, is actually just giving me a lot of confidence, as it has been doing, you know, for this entire market cycle. And we should really, you know, take note here that, you know, a lot of people have had very many different reasons to kind of lose faith in the market throughout this market cycle. And that's going to be for a, you know, wealth of different reasons. There's tons and tons of reasons for why people have kind of landed at those places, but they've always been wrong. They've always been on the wrong side of this for this market cycle. And that's because, frankly, these people are, you know, they've got fear or regret floating around in some way. Usually it's very conscious. Sometimes it's not conscious. Sometimes it's very subconscious. But it's always there. And, you know, if you just kind of look at yourself in the mirror and have an honest conversation with yourself, you're probably going to have elements of that in your own analysis. That's led a lot of people to misconstrue these charts. These charts have been bullish since 2023. We, on this channel, have been bullish since 2023. And that's because the charts have been looking good. So if you've been on the wrong side of this, or if you're watching people that are on the wrong side of this, you really need to be careful about what kind of information you're consuming. We're all about making high conviction plays and sticking to them and seeing them through to make profits and secure those profits. If you're flip-flopping because you've got too much money in the market, or you fall into any of the other 1,000 buckets that could lead someone to having bad an analysis of these markets, you will get punished for it because you won't be able to stick around for the long run. This is a slow market cycle. Things are happening slowly, but they're happening assuredly. Everything is happening very consistently, I think very reasonably, and I think the only thing that's kind of out of tune is the entire fucking retail segment that cannot fathom that markets might move a little bit slower now than they did years ago. But we knew that this was coming. We knew that this is what would happen as bigger institutional players enter the game. The game will start slowing down. Does that mean it's slowing down everywhere? No. Like I said, we're looking at altcoins here. Ethereum against Bitcoin, seeing a really nice pullback now. If Bitcoin dominance makes another leg up, Ethereum is going to fall into a phenomenal buy range. This is a buy range that I've been talking about for years. And I said that if it falls down here, this is where I would want to buy. I didn't, because as it approached this level, I knew it was probably coming down to this level. And we were bang on correct about that. Every single one of you who've been subscribed throughout this period will know that our analysis has been nothing short of fucking spectacular, especially on notes like this. So really, really cool stuff. Thank you all for the support, smashing up those likes, subscribing, tick the bell, do all that good stuff. Really do appreciate it. If you want to get inside of our one-to-one coaching program, it is an incredible program. We've only had incredible results out of it, 100% success rate here. If you want to get yourself inside, find out why it's been doing so well, reach out using this link in the description. A member of the team will get back to you. And please bear in mind, it is very serious. It is also a significant investment in yourself. So if these kind of things scare you away, if you don't like the idea of being particularly serious about this, then this isn't going to be for you. But if you really are ready to do some incredible bits here, then definitely feel free to reach out as well. That would be very, very cool. But back to the charts here. Ethereum against Bitcoin, I think, yeah, dropping down into a really nice, respectable price level here. And this is something that I'm really enjoying seeing. If it does come down here, I think this is going to be a great chance to buy. I think that Ethereum can easily at least get up to the 0.58 BTC level, maybe touch lower, 0.52, but I still think that there's really just incredible upside here to be seen on Ethereum. I don't think we've gotten all of it yet. And I think that's what I really, really like about this. It's the fact that Bitcoin is putting itself in a stronger position. The S&P 500 is proving that this stronger position is, at least for now, sustainable. And altcoins are approaching really, really nice buy levels as well. I think it's a great state of affairs in this market. I like what I'm seeing. I don't really see any signs that kind of invalidate any bullish hypotheses right now. We're bouncing off support levels. We're rising up to resistance levels consistently. It's not the strongest resistance level in the world, 117K. This level can't hold forever. And I think that with the kind of aggression that we're coming at these levels with, we've got a pretty decent chance of breaking above them. So really very, very exciting stuff. Tons more that we're going to be covering, more live streams and all that good stuff upcoming as well. So make sure that you are subscribed for that if you do enjoy this content. With that, ladies and gents, I'm going to have to head off on this one. I hope you have enjoyed this. Make sure you do smash up those likes, subscribe, tick the bell, do all that beautiful stuff, and we will see you all in the next video. Cheers.